Warning: the views and opinions expressed in this program are our own and/or those of our guests. They do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of our employers. Viewers' discretion is advised.
If you've been in this game for a while and you want to get from that $25 to $50 million, here's the big thing right now.
What I do see from super producers in that $50 million range is how you start the year.
You're not going to be able to essentially underwrite your own loans on the way to 50 million. It's just not possible.
What about some examples of a deal or strategy that can significantly contribute to $50 million in production?
You know, to go from 25 to 50, it really comes down to
Promise I'm not being petty. I'm the one they envy, Brody, moving state to state. Make $1 million out the semi, plus I grinded from the start. I was stacking pennies, I might dip like Machiavelli. After the confetti, who ready? We ready? Who ready? We ready? Who ready? Who? We ready? Who? Who ready? Who? We ready? Who? Who ready? We ready? Who ready? We ready? Who ready? Who? We ready? Who? Who ready? Who? We ready? Who?
I was with Tyler Mirage one time at a conference, and this was, I think, right around the time he went and joined the internet. And I think it was like me and Alan, we were still here at with Turncoat, and it was just it was like me and Alan, we were just hanging out, and like this guy from another booth like came up to Tyler and was like, oh, like what bank are you with? He's like, oh, I'm with like First Internet Bank or whatever. He's like, oh, where's your booth? He's like, oh, I don't have one. I'm just hanging out over here. He's just like, you're a suitcaser. You're suitcasing right now. Like, I'd never seen Tyler turn so red in his life.
I've never heard the term.
This guy was dead serious,
I've never
man.
heard the term
That's the only thing that
suitcase.
would happen to Turncoat.
Because that's all you bring.
Yeah, it's
You're trying to pull up
it's-
to the party. All you bring is your suitcase. You don't bring any materials. You don't bring anything.
No girls.
And so
Just
what people
hiding.
do is that what people used to do is that they wouldn't pay to be an actual vendor.
Yeah.
They wouldn't pay to actually have a booth. They would just show up with a bunch of business cards in their suitcase, basically,
Yeah.
and just like set up in the corner of the alleyway or whatever, and just be like, "Hey, you ever heard about these business loans?" And just like hand out their
You
From the
ever heard about
suitcase.
these
the
business
cards.
You ever heard about these?
loans? You want one of these?
You need it, I got it. I will. Let's start out. I want to give a shout out to Kevin Bromberg and Paul Rush for being loyal fans of the show.
All right. All right.
Two of the best in the business. Thanks for listening, y'all.
I'll give a shout out to two of my brokers, Ray Diab and Martin Cobb. They're always commenting and sending me texts every time they see something on LinkedIn.
They need to send topics.
Listen to the podcast. They do need to send topics.
I don't
They
wanna
are
hear-
brokers. One is a business broker, one is a loan broker. They've got plenty of stories, plenty of things they want to hear about. They've been doing this forever. They can definitely put in topics.
Sterling, any shout outs from you?
You know, shout out to whoever's going to send me some artwork for my wall
Yeah.
back here, because you know it is bare, it's desolate. So you know, anybody who's feeling generous, let me know. You can be a part of the
Anybody,
BDO show.
Shout out to
Making
Alan
comments
Peterson
on-
traveling for a conference, and we miss you. Love you.
And what conference is he traveling for?
I don't know. He's probably lying. I'm just kidding. I don't know. You know, he used to send us a video of him
Yeah, I've
filling
never
up his car
seen
on the way
someone
there.
Yeah,
on
and
a
then
plane
he
so
just
much.
stares into the camera and goes,
There's disclaimers on the show. We're allowed to say that.
there is
We were
disclaimers
so
on
close.
the show.
We
for
were
sure.
so close to a PG.
She
can
could
bleep it
bleep me
out.
out. She could bleep me out.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the BDO Show, the #1 podcast in the nation for passionate BDOs wanting to level up their game with advice and stories from battle-tested BDOs. I'm your co-host, Emily Detour, and I'm here with my fellow co-hosts, Ryan Kroge, Chris Hackney, and Sterling Birdsong. We miss Alan today, but he is on the road traveling. It's just what you got to do sometimes. Shout out to Alan. At the beginning of each episode, I'm always going to remind you to like, subscribe, share, send in your topics to the BDO Show at artofsba.com. I will get that at some point. And then don't forget to check out our whole family of shows that we have, including SBA Today, which airs live every week on LinkedIn, as well as our flagship program, the Art of SBA Lending Podcast. Since episode 1, we have been talking about education, educating yourself on your shop, your deal, and your vendor relationships. We literally just talked about this on episode 11, that choosing the right partners to work with is a critical part of your success as a BDO. And since we don't gatekeep around here, let's talk about a fan favorite. The guys have had nothing but good things to say about peak business valuation. I also decided to do my own investigation, and what I learned was that the last year alone, Peak did 1,100 SBA business valuations and turned them around in just 5 business days. Most importantly, they're easy to work with. The Peak team is always happy to jump on a call to discuss evaluation. They not only explain how they arrived at the concluded value, but are also open to receiving any new information that potentially changes the concluded value. The staff is knowledgeable, fast, professional, and the communication is top-notch. If you want to be the best, you have to work with the best. It's as simple as that. Reach out to Ryan at peakbusinessvaluation.com or call him at 435-359-2684. Let Peak Business Valuation help you build an SBA lending team that thrives. Today's episode, we are going to be talking about how to go from a $25 million producer to a $50 million producer. And why don't we kick this off with Ryan Kroge, who has been in the game for 65 years this year.
Oh my goodness, has it been 65 years
65.
already? Jeez, I can't believe it.
He used to trade chickens for deals, like, because he barter animals.
No,
That's
he
how
used to
old
trade
he is.
eggs.
Yeah.
You don't want to trade
He's
the
the
chickens.
Pepperidge Farm of
Yeah.
SBA lending.
Pepperidge Farm remembers, for sure.
Shout out Pepper Troy.
To go from 25 million to 55 million, first you've got to be able to produce 25 million. So it took a while for me. But right now, if you are a BDO, you've been in the game for at least 10 years, $25 million should be your floor, should be the level that you are striving for your minimum for the year. Just because so much has changed over the last 10, 15, 25 years, heck, even the last 10 years, that so many people are jumping into the program, so many more business owners are more aware of the program, that volume should be increasing for you at an astronomical proportion. Now, if you've only been in this for about 5 years, definitely less than 10 years, you should be between that 15 and 25 million. Back when I started, if you were a $7.5 million a year producer, you were a top producer. You were doing very, very well. Back in the early 2000s, that was what you were trying to strive to, because the cap for SBA loans was $2 million. And it was very rare that you actually got a $2 million loan. Whereas today the cap's at $5 million, and I see $5 million loans all day long. I know people that are in Texas and California, because of the cost of real estate, the cost of businesses out in that area, because of inflation, $5 million, $4 to $5 million average size loans is the norm. If you've been in this game for a while and you want to get from that $25 to $50 million, here's the big thing right now. Social media, digital marketing, getting your name out there, and really trying to spread who you are and what you do is going to be the key to try to get to that next level, because you're going to try to get more and more applications on a daily basis, and you want to try to open up those floodgates so you can get them in and try to be able to review them on a timely manner. Now, you're going to have to be more organized. You're going to have to try to organize your day, going to try to organize your calls, and slowly start to ramp it up. You have to manage expectations, manage your time in respect to work and balance at the work and family at the same time, to be able to manage your growth to get from 25 to 50 million. Doesn't happen overnight. Heck, most of the time it doesn't happen in a year. You usually take steps from 25, 30, maybe 35, 40, 45, and then you finally get to that nice sweet spot that I like to be at. I don't like to go over $60 million. I like to stay within that $50, $60 million range, because it gives me time with my family. It gives me time to do stuff that I want to do, and it lets me take vacations a couple times a year and just keep within that sweet spot.
I agree with everything that was said by Ryan. I think that when it comes to growing from being 25 to 50 million, that's a big leap. And honestly, I mean, doing 25, as Ryan previously mentioned, I mean, that's a feat in itself. If you're out there and you're doing $25 million in production every year, you're one of the top performers, most likely, in about 99% of shops that are out there. But to go from 25 to 50, it really comes down to managing your time, first of all, understanding where you move the needle as the BDO in this process, It's getting term sheets out there on the street in a timely manner. It's getting them signed and into underwriting. It's getting them from underwriting approved, and then ultimately it's getting them closed. It sounds like I just named every step of the process, but it's really about those transitional pieces. That's really where you as a BDO can kind of push the deal and kind of manage your time by making sure you focus in on certain things. The first one being getting the term sheet out, making sure that you actually have an offer in front of a customer, because if you don't get a term sheet to them, you're not going to move very far. Once you get the term sheet signed, then it's making sure that they get into the next step of your process. Here we actually have a group of people who will reach out to customers and will assist us with some additional document collection, and that's a super helpful piece of it, because again, it's all comes down to time management. And so being able to not have to deal with filling out a 1919, for example, is a really nice thing that I don't have to deal with. That makes my life a little bit easier. But then again, there's certain parts in the process. It's, hey, when it gets time to go to committee, again, Sterling has to step in, make sure I understand the deal, and make sure that I can present the deal the right way to make sure it gets approved. And then again, in closing, if there's any snags, anything that's hung up in closing, I need to be right there to kind of jump in and make sure that things kind of keep running smoothly. It's about knowing the pressure points of the process and where you need to put your thumb on the scale sometimes, or apply pressure to try and kind of keep a deal moving. Because really it comes down again to time management, and then also some willingness to take a step back and actually delegate a little bit. You're not going to be able to essentially underwrite your own loans on the way to 50 million. It's just not possible. You can't close your own loans on the way to 50 million. It's just not possible. You have to be able to rely on your process, and also rely on your bank and your bank's credit appetite in order to go from 25 to 50 million. Before, on a prior episode, I talked about the fact that when you're talking to other BDOs at other shops, you need to ask a question like, hey, what are your top producers doing in that shop? Because in my mind, every bank essentially has a speed limit. Okay. And at Ryan's bank, Jared's breaking the speed limit. He's doing 105. Okay. Here at Bay First, no one's broken my speed limit yet, and that was 55 that I did. Right. So every bank has a top mark where in reality, that's probably the most that you can realistically hope to do through that shop, right? And so you have to kind of realize what that number is. And then if you have a good process and you have a good bank and you have a good credit box and you're willing to delegate and you understand your time management, then you can go from 25 to 50.
And if you can't do that, if you're like Sammy Hagar, the Red Rocker, and you just can't drive 55,
Who?
and you just want, don't do that to me. Come on, Hackney. You Van Hagar, Sammy Hagar, I can't drive 55, and you just want to just keep cruising on up there? You can.
Yeah,
you can go.
We've lost our audience.
Oh, no, we didn't.
You
No,
do
there's
it
some
to
out
yourself.
there. They're like, yeah, keep rolling, Krogi. Keep
Do
going.
it to
Keep
yourself.
going. You want to go past that 55 and you want to shoot for the moon, pedal to the metal, and just let her rip? That's great. But like Sterling says, you've got to manage that growth. You've got to rely on your people. You've got to ask for help. Are you working for the type of shop that you're on your own? You're doing your own thing? Well, you'll probably be stuck at 25 for the rest of your tenure at that financial institution. Because if you need to take it to the next level, if you want to get to 50, 55, 65, you want to be like Jared doing 105, you're going to need to get more assistance. You're going to need to get a pod. You're going to need to get a whole entire group of individuals that are going to help you get there. Because physically, you just can't do it yourself. I don't care how much you try to convince others that you can. There is not enough time in a day for you to do 100 or $105 million by yourself. You hit a certain point. You hit $50 million. You need help. You need a crew behind you to be able to get you to that point.
Yeah, I would say the key difference, and no disrespect to Sammy Hagar too. if he's still around.
I'm more of a
watching.
David Lee Roth fan, but I just threw Sammy Hagar out there
No,
because he had that hit.
that's a little bit closer. That
Yeah.
sounds familiar. Got it.
That sounds familiar. I like the sounds. I remember reading about that in the history books. The
sounds
classic
familiar.
rock station mentioned David Lee Roth. I remember him. He had long hair, right?
We don't know. We
One of
don't
those
know.
One of those guys. This show is on like YouTube, man, not like cable TV. But anyways, I'll be honest, I've never touched 50. I've touched 40, and then I made my way into management. And so obviously time commitment, which we all kind of discussed, you have to have the time in order to do that, or delegate and allocate resources. What I do see from super producers in that $50 million range is how you start the year. Think about it like sprinting. If you get out of the blocks hot, if you're at, I typically like to see if you're at 20 million by May, then you're in good position to hit 50 by the end of the year. There are a lot of times where people don't really hit their stride in production until June through August, September, which is great. But the better you start out, the more production you have at the start of the year. That is the difference between being a $25 and $50 million producer. I know that seems like obvious, Chris, but a lot of people just, hey, it's holidays. I'm going to take it easy in December. January, I'm just going to kind of ease into my year. I'll start reaching out to brokers or referral partners towards the end of January and hit my stride in February, March. By that time, it's end of Q1 and you've closed $2 or $3 million. It's going to be a lot harder to hit the $50 million mark. So you have to start out strong. Start building those relationships, start looking at deals towards the end of the year. That way you can hit and turn the corner on some larger opportunities starting in January, February. And then the good thing is once you do it, not saying that anyone would sandbag on this call, but if you hit 50 million in a year, right, and you're at December and you're already at 49 and you got another 5 or 6 million that needs to close, if only 2 million closes and you're at 51, you're starting January with 3 or 4 million, it just carries over year after year. So it only takes 1 or 2 years for you to break that mark where you have that kind of excess or that surplus that can spill over from December, the last 2 or 3 weeks from December into January, to catapult you into the next year with a $4 or $5 million head start over some of your peers.
And don't be afraid to do that. I know plenty of BDOs. I know it's super tempting. You get into October, maybe the beginning of November, and you're like, man, I'm at $40 million and I've got about another 7 million right in my pipeline right now and closing. If I close all 7 million right now, bam, I'll be at 47 million. I'll be crushing X amount of BDOs and I'll be doing great. Yeah, but then you've got nothing. Your powder's wet. You've got nothing coming into January and you got to start all over from zero. And now you're back down to 25 million for the next year. Manage your growth. Manage your growth as you move from one stage to the next. It's okay that if you were 25 one year and you go to 35 and then you roll over another 10, you need that 10 to start off the next year so that you can get to, number one, that next tier in production incentive, right? Because we all want to try to see how quickly we get to that highest tier in commission as soon as possible. But number two, so that you can get some consistency. You want some consistency managing that growth, getting to that $50 million.
Again, because if Sterling does, real quick, Emily, if Sterling does 51 and maybe 4 million rolls over in the next year, there's no way I'm going to go, hey man, we really needed those $4 million this year, Sterling. What the hell, right?
No.
So
it's a fine balance. When
you
you're
guys,
I've never had a sales manager ever say that.
Sometimes your bank might.
Yeah. Well, sometimes, yeah, right.
Sometimes-
but I've never had a
Your
sales
bank might.
manager say, why did you let that $10 million roll over? But I've always had a sales manager said, hey, great year, Krogi. I'm glad you let that 15 million roll over. You're going to have a strong start to the next year. We're selling every month, guys. We're selling every week. We're making things happen as they roll. There's no need to try to cram everything into 1 month. You're stressing out your underwriters. You're stressing out your closers. You're stressing out your entire tribe. Yeah, the numbers look great, but you're stressing everybody out, and now they got to take a break before they start the next year.
now when you say rollover for maybe the new BDOs or me, when you say rollover, you had the deal in your pipeline, but you just waited until the new year?
I wouldn't say waited. You just let the natural course of the closing process happen. So there are a lot of BDOs out there, and I've been guilty of this. It gets into November and you're like, man, I have a target for myself. My target is this, and I want to hit that before the end of the year. So you do whatever you can. You push your processors, you push your closers, you push the borrower to be able to close in this year so that you can hit that mark. That's selfish. Let it go. Let the natural progression of closing happen. Let the borrowers and the sellers dictate when they want to close, because they're going to start getting everything put together when it's time for them to close, and they'll get the closer all set up, and the closer will dictate that, set the closing date, and everything will happen on its own naturally. And that's what you want. As a successful, good, high-producing BDO, you should be able to trust your tribe, have a good pod so that you know when they're going to close everything, and you let it happen. The moment you start forcing closings within a certain quarter, within a certain year, fiscal or calendar year end, you're going to start losing, because you're not going to have those loans that are going to roll over, start your next year. You're going to burn your tribe out, and you're going to have very inconsistent years. And that's not something that a sales manager is going to want to see or going to want to hire. Someone that does 60 million, then 25, then 70, then 15. No, you want to be 50, 60, 50, 60, kind of right in that range. Well, whatever your range is, you want to be relatively consistent from year to year.
So what role does your network play in achieving the $50 million milestone, and how do you leverage your relationships effectively, Sterling?
Again, just to get to 50 million in the first place, or even to get to 25 million in the first place, it comes down to your network and how many loans you can bring in the front door, because everybody knows, who's been doing this for a while, that you have to kiss a lot of frogs, right? So basically, a lot of deals are going to come in your front door. You might see a deal a day, right? You might see 5 deals pop up every week, but realistically, you might only term sheet 1. And sometimes you'll term sheet none, because not every deal actually, should get done. You're going to see a lot of deals that have been passed around from bank to bank, and they're looking for essentially the weakest link in the chain, because all it takes is one yes for them to get a transaction closed. So, your network is very much important in this, because if you don't get those looks consistently, then it's going to be hard for you to really hit any number, and then you end up getting, then you end up whale hunting, where you get tied to, super large transactions, and if those transactions, you live and die by the sword, as they say, right? So if one of those things falls out for God knows what reason, transactions don't close for so many different reasons, you couldn't name them all, but sometimes those big deals just aren't going to happen. And if you're tying your rocket ship to those big deals, and they're not going to close, then you're going to end up having a big detriment to your number at the end of the year. That's how you go from maybe doing 35 to doing 25, right? Sometimes it can only be 2 or 3 deals.
And the bigger they are, the harder they fall, right, Sterling? We just did a podcast a couple weeks ago about clawbacks. So if you're out there just hunting whales, just trying to get the biggest ones that you can get to your number, well, what if one of those goes bad? Or what if one of those fall out? What if a couple of those fall out? If you keep your average size, you try to stay consistent with the type of transactions that you do, the type of businesses that you do deals with, you're going to have a much better time diversifying your portfolio, diversifying your closing mix, diversifying your customer base, and you're going to have a more consistent income, more consistent production. And when you get those clawbacks, when you get those defaults, or even when you get them falling out of your pipeline, it's not going to hurt. I have plenty of conversations. I've had a sales manager call me up and say, man, I heard you lost that deal. It was, $1.1 million. And both of us are like, we're on to the next one. Why? Because that's my average loan size is about 1 million to 1.1 million. And I've got a whole bunch of them in there to make up my 50 to 60 million a year. And if one goes out, one falls out, all right, fine. I'm on to the next one and we're making it happen. But if I got a $5 million deal and my $60 million production that falls out, that's a big hit. So I try to stay away from those big monster elephants. They just create holes in your portfolio. Not that I'll turn one down. I will take a big one if it comes in, if it makes good sense. Yeah.
Your network is important, because what I've found, it's good to have maybe 2 or 3 referral partners that consistently send you business in a year. I'm not going to drop some names, but I know there's 3 or 4 referral partners that I can count on for at least 2 or 3 deals per year. So that's 9 to 10 loans with an average loan size of X. So I know going into unless they like pass away or they just say, hey, I'm never working with you again, I've got volume that would, hopefully that never happens. That'd be terrible.
Emily's like, oh, I don't want you
but
to pass away.
the reason you want that sort of relationship is because you develop a rhythm. And, it's just like playing on a team. If I've got a referral partner, they know exactly our process, the questions our underwriters are going to ask, the time it takes to do things. So over the course of the year, we're going to work so well together. It's going to accelerate our process, and we're just going to develop a rhythm so the deals get faster and faster, and it's easier. And I don't have to call that referral partner as much because they already know how things roll here, rather than me trying to work with 30 or 40 referral partners, right, to get that volume. If I could pare that down some, that's easier on my time. Just from the simple fact, like right now I have a referral partner. I think we're close to $10 million in volume that he sent over. But a lot of times we have one phone call that I make to him, and we discuss 3 deals that are in various stages of the pipeline. That saves times right there, where I don't have to call 3 different referral partners and say, hey, how's the kids? How are you doing? How's it going today? Hey, and repeat that. I do that once. We talk about 3 deals. It takes about the same amount of time, and we hang up, right?
But for the new BDOs, you have to do that kind of stuff in the beginning. So don't forget to make your phone calls, send your emails.
You got to build your network, but as to get to 50, you really need to find who are my top 3 or top 4 that are going to give me $10 to $15 million each year between the 3 or 4 relationships, and I can count on that and grow and drive deep with those partners, and then I can just add on to that with other referral partners as well. So that's how you really work.
That sounds like a great referral partner. What's their name?
Alan Peterson.
Are they on LinkedIn?
Are they on LinkedIn?
Alan Peterson and Jared Johnson.
Alan Peterson.
Yes.
Yeah, that is key, is those relationships, getting to know each other, processes, how you two work with each other, how they treat the borrower, how you treat the borrower. That is like the most valuable thing you can do, is just have those referral partners like constantly knowing that you're their guy or you're their girl.
And they'll do a lot of the work for you.
Yeah.
They'll say, hey, Ryan, I know at First Internet they're going to look for this debt service coverage. You're going to need you definitely need this document, or you're going to need to pay down the credit card debts to this. That's one less thing that Ryan has to say on that deal. So finding your 3 or 4 referral sources that can give you a decent amount of that $50 million volume really helps in managing your time to hit that number.
I call them my top 5, my big 5. Who are my big 5 referral sources?
Yeah.
I know them very well.
Also, never ever tag your referral partners in a LinkedIn post. Give them a shout out. Buy them a bottle of liquor.
Sound advice.
Send them a gift. Send their family on vacation. Rub their back. Whatever you need to do. But
because I will call them.
Do not.
I will be sliding into their DMs.
I could not have done this if it wasn't for Johnny Smith Broker. Because guess what? Everyone's gonna click.
Johnny Smith. How you doing, buddy?
Hey,
what's going on,
Johnny?
Buddy?
Ever heard about 2%?
Yeah.
You ever heard about 2%, Johnny?
Pro tip of the day.
Oh, he paid you 1? Oh, that's crazy.
1.
Oh, wow.
Why don't we double that and make it?
That's, all I'm saying is you could do better.
What about some examples of a deal or strategy that can significantly contribute to $50 million in production? Like, have you guys ever had just a deal that sort of stood out that you were like, okay, these are going to get me, this is going to get me there?
I wouldn't say a deal, but I would say a market trend. I would say if you have your pulse on the economy, if you have your pulse on what's going on, and then you start marketing yourself and you start calling specific brokers or specific industries that's hot, that is going to be hot for SBA at the time, that's what's going to get you to the next level. Because I could tell you, when I was back in 2008, 2009, 2010, when the bottom fell out of the economy, commercial real estate just dropped like a rock. But their debt level was right up to here. So what I was doing is I was calling up every workout officer at every big bank in Metro Detroit. And I was saying, if you've got a customer right now that they want out because they're upside down on their conventional mortgage, you've got them coming up for renewal, but it's cash flowing, have them give me a call. I will refinance them all day long. I was strictly CRE from probably 2008 to 2014 because that's what was going on at that time. Values were in the gutter. but the loan balance has never changed. And all these larger banks, all these larger regional banks were getting them out. They were on a reverse pipeline. They were trying to push them out because now they had to do FAS 118s trying to write off all that deficiencies. And the only ways they can get gains to show the Federal Reserve that they don't need to reserve more cash is to get them off their books, get gains, and get more profitable again. And the best way to do that, find a banker like me that can take it on and refinance you into a nice 25-year rate, right? And rates were really low back then. Now you look at the economy and real estate is through the roof, right? Cost of funds are through the roof. People don't want to invest in real estate because it costs too much. The return on the money is way too low, especially with the cost of funds. But if you can find something within your industry, something that you're good at, something that you've got transferable experience, a business that can get good cash flow, good SDE back to the owner, SBA is worth it all day. That's why there's so much volume going on right now in business acquisitions. You just have to know the economy. You have to know what's hot, and you have to know what's good for an SBA borrower. And you have to focus on that because it changes. It changes almost every 5 to 10 years. It's going to change, and you have to know and be on the forefront, be able to market yourself and be in front of that curve.
A good strategy, and I agree with what Ryan just said there. Another good strategy, and it seems simple, but knowing what types of deals your banks want to do and not wasting time on anything that is remotely outside of that. Like, just don't even look at the package. If you know it's a ground up construction and your bank wants BizAc, even like opening up the PFS and asking your sales manager, will we take a shot on this? You lost 5 minutes of your day that you could have made a call to someone else. So being laser focused on what your bank wants to do. And then I think there's 2 ways to go about it. Obviously, you can do every single deal regardless of loan size, but that's going to stress your team out. If you're doing a $100,000 deal here and a $5 million the next day, the way to do it, and with the stress level of a $25 million producer and still have $50 million, is looking at your average loan size and being very methodical about, okay, I want to do 3 or 4 deals a year or 3 or 4 deals a month, at this loan size, 700,000, 800,000. Anything that's too far below that, then maybe that's something you say, hey, not a fit. I'm not saying you need to go to $1 million average loan size and be, so cocky and bold to just turn away people like that. I'm not saying that, but
who would do that? Increase. Like I've heard that before somewhere. It wasn't me, but I've heard it before.
It was an entire bank. What do I know? But no, I'm just kidding. If you incrementally ratchet up your average loan size, that will allow you to do less deals and it's less stress and you have more production. So it seems like the obvious thing to do, but a lot of times people I just got to do every single deal that comes across my desk. Maybe you don't. Maybe you move your average loan size from 600,000 to 850. Then that's maybe 10 less deals you have to do to get to the same level of production. And that's how you get to 50 quicker. And then along those lines, working with less referral partners, finding those top 5, like Ryan mentioned,
right,
that you develop a rhythm with, and you do 3 or 4 deals per year with those 5. If you do 5 times 5, that's 25, right? And you get a good average loan size from them. The rest is, you're building new referral partners on there, and you just have that rhythm going, and you're making 1 phone call and talking about 3 deals with 1 referral partner. Again, you got to manage your stress and your workload to get to 50 million, or else you'll burn yourself out. So you have to assess, okay, what's my average loan size? How many referral partners am I working with? How many people am I talking to on a monthly, daily basis here? Do I need to rein that in and really dive deeper with the people that are bringing me the volume?
Or if you can't ratchet up your average loan size, work within a vertical or a couple verticals that you're really good at. And when I say really good at, that when you take a transaction, you can autopilot right through. You can cut through these transactions really, really quick so that you're not spending too much time. Yes, you're doing a lot more loans, a lot more number of loans because your average loan size isn't going up, but you're spending less time on each loan because you know the industry, you know the transaction, you know how to structure it. You don't have to waste any time thinking, well, should I do it? How should I do it? I need to, work through some numbers more. You just know. Because it's a vertical you're very good with, it's a vertical that you're very comfortable with, and that you can do it in your sleep. And just to clarify, when I'm talking about a vertical, I'm talking about a specific industry, a specific business type, or a specific transaction type that you are extremely comfortable in pumping out large volume, low average loan size, but you can still make it up as if you had larger loan sizes.
Yeah, and I know before I said, don't live and die by big deals, but you do need a couple of needle movers throughout your year if you're going to realistically hit a big number. No one's going to hit 50 million doing loans $250,000 at a time. It's just there's not enough time in the day for you to do that many units and hit a big number without having a couple of needle movers that are going to jump you up from hey, I was at 3 million in production, now I'm at 6 million in production, or hey, I was at 10 million in production, now I'm at 14. Sometimes I see it with people who are not necessarily, if you're at 25 million, you're probably already seeing big deals and you're not afraid of large deals. But especially for some people who are just starting out, who are, trying to get from 0 to 10 or 0 to, 15, you do need to try and go out and source some larger deals from time to time, because I see that with a lot of the people who are just getting started. They bring in a lot of small deals and they kind of get stuck in this space where they only see deals that are 500,000 or only see deals that are 100,000 or something along those lines. You need to make sure that you actually are running in the right circles, talking to the right people, speaking with the right brokers who are also going to bring you some decent sized transactions as well.
How about we do some quick parting advice before the episode ends on maintaining consistency, avoiding burnout, and things that you can do to scale your production?
Yeah, I would say focus on the top 5 referral partners and build a rhythm with those referral partners to do as many deals as you can with those 5 referral partners. It's going to accelerate your process and put you in better position to hit 50 million. And also, got to start strong. By May, you need to be in the $20 million range if you're going to shoot for a $50 million year.
Yeah, I would say knowing your process extremely well internally for how to get a deal from start to finish, and then knowing when you can delegate within that process so that you can better time manage. That's what's going to take you from 25 to 50.
I would say manage your growth. Understand the type of transactions that your bank is going to do, and understand the type of transactions that you know that very, very well, so that you can cut through them really quick. And never, ever hesitate to give a quick no. If you understand and you know that a transaction is just not going to work, don't try to sit there and try to force it to work. Cut it loose. They'll thank you for it, and you'll get another one the very next day. Just understand what you're going to do on your vertical. If you're in a vertical, understand the type of transactions the bank is going to do, and focus on those along with everything else that Hackney and Sterling also said, because it's all great advice.
I work with our BDOs at our shop, and I pay our referral partners and help with the invoices, and I see the same ones over and over again, and they're sending quality, and they're in a groove with our BDOs, and they're happy, and they're not, they're not going after like you said, those elephants that are just going to like fall to the ground to try to get the number up. So I would say go for quality, know your niche. If you don't have one, you can find one, and treat your referral partners with respect. All right, everybody. Well, thank you for being with us today. Go ahead and send your topics and suggestions over to the BDO Show at artofsba.com. We will get that right at some point. And don't forget to check out our whole family of shows, including the SBA Today show, as well as our flagship program, the Art of SBA Lending Podcast. And we will see you next time.
Smash that like button. Demolish that subscribe button.
Like and subscribe.
Let's go. Like and subscribe. That's what the kids are saying today.